The first step we need to take in normalizing our data is to put it into the first normal form. Now, many times a database starts out as nothing more than a spreadsheet, like the example you see on the screen. And if you take a look at this example, you can see several areas where we might have some problems. Look under employee names. For every project that we have listed, we have the employee names listed each time. A possibility to create an error in entering an employee name. The same with the job class of the employee. Every time we have to re-enter John News as a database designer, we have the opportunity to make an entry. Not to mention, the same problem can occur with the charges per hour, the employee number, and the employee project name. So this is a database that's a good candidate for normalization. When we start our normalization process, we want to start with the first normal form. And step one in doing that is eliminating any repeating groups of data. So as we looked at our sample spreadsheet that we're going to turn into a database, employee names would be a repeating group of data. Step two is to identify the primary key. Now, this was a database that we are tracking project completions on, and so it might be a good idea to use the project number as our primary key. And the third step is to identify dependencies. Now, dependencies are something we haven't discussed yet, and we'll get into those in a bit more detail in just a few minutes. When we talk about dependencies, the two that we're most concerned with in normalization are the partial dependencies and the transitive dependencies. And again, we'll look at these in just a minute. Here's our sample spreadsheet again of our database, and now that we've talked about the problems, they may be a little more clear to you, and you may start to have some ideas on how we might put this database into the first normal form. You can see a primary key under the project numbers, and can you identify what a foreign key might be that we would use? If you identify the employee number, you're catching on. So here's our database put into the first normal form. Notice we have no null or blank categories. Every line, every entity instance, if you will, is completely filled in. So this is a very easy process if you inherit a database that has been created in a spreadsheet, to put it into the first normal form to help you get started. Just fill in all the blank areas. Yes, we still have data that is entered again and again, but as we go to the second and third normal forms, we'll correct those problems. And now we'll start to unravel the mystery of dependencies. On the screen you see a diagram of the dependencies for our project table. Now, we know that the project number has a dependency of the project name, and we know that the employee number has dependencies relating to the employee name, the job class, the charge hours, and the hours. Now, in addition to that, job class and charge hours have a transitive dependency, And if you think of each one of these, we can eliminate some of those dependencies by creating additional tables. And that's the approach that we will take when we go to the second normal form. Another way you might analyze this is that project number and project name could stand alone. Employee number, employee name, job class, charge hour, and hours could also stand alone. But within that employee object, if you will, job class and charge hours could also stand alone and could be represented just by an employee number and a job class number. Again, we'll look at this further when we look at the second normal form.